head of government agencies. NANS demand justice for murdered Ondo Varsity students. The Patriots demands conduct of all elections on the same day. And Labour Party adopts interim national chairman and secretary. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. World News at 6 begins with President Bola Tinubu appointing Mohammed Babangida, son of former military dictator Ibrahim Babangida, as chairman of the revamped Bank of Agriculture. This was disclosed in a statement today by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga. The 53-year-old Mohammed Babangida holds a degree in business administration and a master's in public relations and business communication from the European University in Switzerland. He also completed an executive program on corporate governance at Harvard Business School in 2022. Meanwhile, the National Association of Nigerian Students have condemned the killing of 2 students of Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungbakoko, Ondo State, calling for swift and total justice for the victims. In a statement issued today and signed by its National Public Relations Officer, Adeyemi Ajasa, the association described the incident as barbaric and heartbreaking, warning that violence against students must not be tolerated. The 2 undergraduates were reportedly abducted and later killed by assailant in a yet-to-be disclosed location, sparking outrage and grief across the AAUA community. In a statement, Nance noted that the barbaric act is not only heartbreaking and disturbing, but also a stark reminder of the persistent and unacceptable threat to the lives and safety of young Nigerians striving for education and for a better future. Nance commended the Ondo State Police Command for arresting some suspects linked to the killings and urged security agencies to intensify efforts to apprehend others still at large. The Commissioner of Police, Mr. Adebowale Lawal, said the landlord of one of the deceased, Oladele Femi, and 2 others have been arrested for allegedly knowing about the crime. The student body also extended condolences to the bereaved families and the AAUA community, describing the murdered student as beloved departed comrades. The association reiterated its demand for improved security around campuses and their host communities, stressing the need to prevent similar incidents in the future. In a tragic development, a 7 police officer in Gombe State has died following a hit-and-run incident that occurred on Wednesday evening along Bauchi Road opposite the Matrix fueling station in Tumfure, Akko local government area. The deceased, ASP Clement Yunana, aged 50, was reportedly knocked down by an unidentified vehicle while attempting to cross the road at about 5 p.m. The vehicle, according to police sources, was heading towards Gombe Metropolis from the Bauchi Road axis and did not stop to assist the victim after the collision. Confirming the incident in a press statement today, the Public Relations Officer, DSP Buhari Abdullahi, described the event as tragic and regrettable, noting that efforts are currently underway to identify and apprehend the fleeing driver. He noted that the command received with deep sorrow the report of the fatal hit and run involving one of its own. He also said that ASP Clement Yunana was a dedicated officer attached to the Railway Police Outstation in Bajoga Division. He said the deceased sustained serious injuries and was rushed to the Federal Teaching Hospital, where he was unfortunately pronounced dead. The police PRO said a full-scale investigation has been launched into the incident and called on members of the public to come forward with any useful information that could aid in tracking down the vehicle and the driver responsible. The Ondo State Police Command has confirmed that the deceased registrar of the University of Medical Sciences, UNIMED, Ondo State, Mr. Ezekiel Adeniran, was assassinated. The lifeless body of the 41-year-old, who was appointed registrar in January this year, was discovered in his residence in Akure, the state capital, in the early hours of Thursday. When contacted over the incident, the police public relations officer in the state, Olayinka Ayolade, confirmed that the death of the deceased was a case of assassination. According to the PRO, the man died in the early hours of yesterday, Thursday. He confirmed that the situation was reported at Fanibi Division and that the man was assassinated. He also noted that from the information at his disposal, 2 men came out of the bush and forced a substance into another person's mouth, but he could not confirm where it actually happened. But he noted that the police's area of interest is to unravel who is responsible for this case. Ayonlade appealed to anyone with information on the assailants to approach the police. He assured that such information will be treated with confidentiality. The management of Unimed has also confirmed the incident in a statement issued by the head of media and protocol, Mr. Isaac Oluyi. The Labour Party, under the leadership of Senator Nenadi Usman, is holding its statutory National Executive Council meeting NEC in Abuja. The high-level meeting has in attendance prominent party stakeholders, including the Governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Oti, his deputy, Engineer Ikechukwu Emetu, and several other key figures within the party. Top on the agenda is the inauguration of an interim National Working Committee to steer the party's affairs pending the conduct of a national convention. In addition, the NEC is expected to set up various strategic committees, including one to oversee the party's nationwide membership revalidation exercise, as well as a Congress committee to be tasked with organizing forthcoming party congresses at various levels. Party insiders say the meeting signals a critical step towards repositioning the Labour Party ahead of future political engagement, including preparations for the 2027 general elections. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Comrade Joe Ajaero, is also at the meeting. The chairman of the Board of Trustees, BOT Chief Sylvester Ejiofor, sent a representative. The report of the plea bargain between former governor of Adamawa State, Murtala Nyako, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on settlement of the 29 billion naira fraud case against the ex-governor could not be heard at the Federal High Court in Abuja today. At the resumed hearing, EFCC lawyer Mr. Rotimi Jacobs, a senior advocate of Nigeria, informed the court that following the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, also a senior advocate of Nigeria, was unable to meet with other parties to resolve outstanding issues in the settlement. Jacobs further stated that the AGF had instructed him to request for a short adjournment. Barrister Matthew Onoja, who announced appearance for Nyako, did not object to the application for an adjournment, just as the other defense counsel also did not raise objections. In a brief ruling, Justice Peter Lifu noted that since none of the defense counsel objected to the adjournment request, he was minded to grant it. He also noted that since the court had taken judicial notice of the 7-day mourning period declared by the federal government, the case will be adjourned until July 25. At the last adjourned date, Jacobs had informed the court that both parties had started discussions on the possibility of settling the matter out of court. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has officially named Senator Nenadi Esther Usman as interim national chairman and Senator Darlington Nwokocha as interim national secretary. The Labour Party today ratified and adopted its interim national working committee. The decision was disclosed in the communique issued at the end of the party's National Executive Council meeting held today. The communique was endorsed by Abia State Governor Alex Oti, his deputy, Engineer Ikechukwu Emetu, and Board of Trustees Chairman Chief Sylvester Ejiofor. Others include representatives from the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, alongside other senior party officials. Reading the communique to journalists, Senator Nwokocha confirmed that the ratification followed the Labour Party's constitution and the Supreme Court's ruling of April 4, 2025, which affirmed an end to Barrister Julius Abure's tenure as national chairman. Addressing the gathering, Governor Oti said that the party was committed to a structured transition. Governor Oti stated that the process would commence from ward level, progressing through local government, state and zones, culminating in a national convention. Meanwhile, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has been urged to order the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to enter a defense in the alleged terrorism charge brought against him by the federal government. The counsel for the prosecution, Adegboyega Awomolo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who made this request during today's proceedings, urged the court to reject the no-case submission made by the defense. He prayed the court to instead order him to explain why he engaged in alleged terrorist activities that promoted violence and destruction, including the alleged killing of not less than 170 security officials. While adopting the prosecution's address in opposition to the no-case submission made by Kanu, Awomolo said the prosecution had supplied sufficient evidence in proof of all elements of the offences charged to warrant the court to call on the defendant to enter a defence. He noted the prosecution called 5 witnesses and tendered many exhibits, including video and audio, adding that as against the claim by defence lawyer Kanu Agabi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, the reply addressed to the prosecution addressed all issues raised to the effect that the no-case submission is of no moment. Awomolo, who prayed the court to dismiss the no-case submission, argued that all the court was required to do at this stage of the case was to take a panoramic view of the evidence led so far and determine whether or not a prima facie case has been made out against the defendant to warrant his being called to enter a defense. He noted that the defense in its no-case submission attacked the credibility of the witness, the record and evidence led so far, which is not what is required at this stage. In a recent development, former Chief of Staff to ex-President Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, has confirmed the existence of a cabal within Aso Rock during the Buhari administration and revealed that the group often bypassed the president's official directives. Gambari described the cabal as a small inner circle of powerful individuals who operated behind the scenes and at times undermined formal procedures. He made the disclosure while speaking on Inside Sources with Laulu Akande on the Monitor television program. He noted that there was a cabal in Aso Rock during Buhari's administration, just like in every other administration. He said some may call them a kitchen cabinet, others call them a think tank. He said Obasanjo also had a group of people like that. It is the nature of the office of the president. Gambari, who served as Buhari's chief of staff from 2020 to 2023, said the president had given clear instructions that all official memos must pass through his office. However, he disclosed that some individuals within the cabal found ways to sidestep this order. While he did not name those involved, his revelation supports earlier allegations by former First Lady Aisha Buhari, who had repeatedly claimed that a cabal had taken control of the presidency. Between 2019 and 2020, the former First Lady publicly accused unnamed individuals of blocking access to her husband and influencing major decisions without accountability. The former Chief of Staff noted that while President Buhari remained in charge of key decisions, there were times he would allow certain things to slide, especially when the matter became politically sensitive. You're still listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. More news coming your way.
Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu held a closed-door meeting today with Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno at the presidential villa in Abuja. The meeting, which underscores the president's continued engagement with key political leaders and state executives, is believed to be part of broader consultations aimed at strengthening federal-state relations. Governor Eno, who is the leader of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom, was accompanied to the meeting by Akpabio, a former governor of the state, and 2 top political officials from the region. Now, although details of the discussions were not made public as of press time, while the talks may have centered on deepening cooperation between the federal government and Akwa Ibom state, as well as addressing issues of national interest. After the meeting, the trio posed for photographs at the villa, signaling a cordial and collaborative tone. Presidential spokesperson Bayo Naniga confirmed the visit in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, onto the political brickbats between political actors and political parties. The former chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Dele Momodu, has stated that the opposition coalition African Democratic Congress will outplay the ruling All Progressives Congress in their own game. The veteran journalist made this known during an interview on a Monitor television program earlier today. Momodu, who recently defected from the PDP to the ADC, stated that it is clear the APC is currently in a hurry to contest the 2027 election, and the ADC coalition has strategies to outplay them. According to him, the APC is throwing tantrums and finding means to scatter the ADC. According to him, he says, APC is in a hurry to contest the 2027 election. If possible today, we then realize that instead of playing catch-up, we must also be on the defensive. Of course, the strategy was to make sure we all know what the APC is capable of doing. So we decided that we are going to outplay them in their own game. And that is why right now they are busy shouting, throwing tantrums, and we are not minding them. End quote. Now, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Ibrahim Abdullahi, has stated that the party is implementing measures to bring the Labour Party 2023 presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, back into its fold. Well, in the build-up to the 2023 elections, if you recall, Peter Obi, a former vice presidential candidate of the PDP, led the party to join the Labour Party. He secured the Labour Party's presidential ticket and contested the presidential election against Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC, Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, and Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party. Peter Obi won 12 states, including the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, but came third behind Atiku and the subsequent winner, Tinubu, according to the final results declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Speaking via Monitor television program today, Abdullahi described the former governor of Anambra State as a product of the PDP and a great asset to any political party. According to Abdullahi, despite rigging and various forms of electoral process manipulation on the 2023 elections, Peter Obi still garnered over 6 million votes. Now, in a very recent development, however, Larry Olayinka, the Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications at the FCT, Wike, has stated that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar had ruined the People's Democratic Party with his presidential ambition. Speaking via Monitor television program, Olayinka said Atiku should not be allowed to return to the party after his exit. Atiku, as you do know, on Wednesday formally announced his resignation from the PDP, citing irreconcilable internal crisis. The letter was dated July 14 and described the decision as heartbreaking. Olayinka accused the former vice president of destroying the party before abandoning it. He says, "Now he is gone. The first thing I want to say is that when highly spirited members of the PDP come together to rebuild the party, Atiku Abubakar should not come back after he has failed on his new political journey because he's going to fail." Olayinka said the party should begin internal reforms, but not necessarily intending to contest for power in 2027. According to him, the PDP must prioritize rebuilding its identity and structure over electoral calculations. Chama Innocent, it's quite an irony on what is currently going on within the political space. While there are social issues that needs to be attended to by the government of the day, you will think, just like yesterday during the World News, we're both here together, where we actually spoke with Solomon Dalio from Plateau State, the Burum youth leader, where he made mention of the fact that they had not gotten any response yet from any of the quarters of the security agencies who were meant to investigate the dastardly act that was carried out on women and children in Plateau State. From, according to him, he described the insurgents or the persons who perpetrated such acts as persons from the Fulani extraction. He called them the terrorists, where he also reacted and said that some of them were military fatigues. We haven't gotten an update yet from the military agencies. We haven't heard anything from any of the quarters, even from the spokespersons of the administration. And it's quite unfortunate that all the time they appear on any Monitor television program, all they are talking about is about political actors and their political parties and their political calculation. So far, Larry Olayinka, the aide to Wike, what's his name? The other guy who left the PDP and joined the APC, who actually, not Ali Ndume, the recent spokesperson who left for Atiku Abubakar during the presidential campaign in 2023.
Very vocal and now part
he
of
just
Daniel
Obala. Thank you very much, Daniel Obala. That name was skipping my tongue. Daniel Obala has actually attended to different television interviews lately concerning the defection of Atiku Abubakar. That is not the only person that is also speaking, as you do know. Bayo Onanuga as well is not out of the broom. He's also been granting television interviews, speaking on behalf of the president. The only person who has not really been granting interviews is the Minister of Information. Normally, the Minister of Information is the one who is meant to be responding to questions about his principle, about the policy implementation of the government of the day. But he has basically been supposedly quiet in that regard. But these actionable government agents have been the ones speaking literally in defending their principles and not defending with receipts on what their principles have been able to achieve. Lately, it has become a very worrisome development that the administration is only focused on politicking and other aspects that demands governance and attention is lacking. Would we say that at this point in time, Nigerians should just basically look out for themselves and not even expect any form of governance, since we have 2027 2 years away and no one is actually talking about the vacuum and the porosities witnessed in vital sectors that has to do with Nigerians wanting to survive?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate, but that just shows us where the priorities of the current administration lies, and it doesn't look like it lies with Nigerians, with the welfare of Nigerians. It doesn't look like they're prioritizing security or insecurity, as the case may be. When the president appears at any media party at all, even when he went to Benue State to talk to people, it's still went down to that same conversation, politics. Like you rightly said, when his media aides come up, they are saying the same thing. You talked about the Minister of Information not coming out to say anything. Esther, what do you want him to say? What do you want him to say? If there are new developments, if there's anything to tell Nigerians, that Nigerians don't want to hear bad news. I think that's the thing. Nigerians do not want to keep hearing bad news. So when there is a situation whereby if you're not coming to say something that will boost the faith that Nigerians have in these governments, it's probably better to just keep quiet. But again, that just shows us where their priorities lie. It's very, very unfortunate. That's one thing I have to say. From Plateau to Benue, even Bayelsa yesterday, you talked about this on the evening rush. Have you ever heard Bayelsa and insecurity? Is it not Niger Delta issue that's their own? So when you hear Bayelsa insecurity, headsmen, this shows you that these people are making inroads into communities they've not entered before. The governors are not saying anything. The security agents cannot act because, I mean, if they're not giving the order, if they're not giving the best. Esther, if you have a brother or a family member who works as a policeman or who works as an army personnel in this country, you would be scared going to bed every day, especially knowing the kind of weapons or that they wield or no weapons at all. Yesterday, you heard Solomon Daliop telling us that when Operation Safe Haven came to counter the attackers, they shot only 3 bullets. They shot only 3 bullets.
The 3 bullets, out of the 3 bullets, is it that they were lacking in ammunition, or that was just what they could expel?
If you ask me, who I go ask?
But Choma, it's not a funny situation. I have been speaking lately on certain sectors within the Nigerian economy that demands adequate attention. One of them is security. The other aspect is our MSMEs, that is our small scale businesses. A couple of investors said they've closed up their businesses. They can't continue because the economy is harsh. They can't even borrow loans from small banks. The collateral that is being asked is what they do not even have in the first instance. Those that are trying to go into agricultural investment for getting what you call the seedlings and the fertilizer, well, you know that some of them can't go to the farms. Sometimes the profit that they're supposed to make, they're not able to meet it. And when you collect a loan, there's an estimated period of time that you ought to pay up. Choma, as it stands, it just feels like the administration of the day is acquiring any fund together, putting it together ahead of 2027. Now, let's look at how the ADC as a major coalition thinks that they can actually beat the APC as it came. I was talking yesterday during the evening rush. I said the reason why this coalition came together like this is because they feel that the APC thinks that they have all the nitty-gritty, they have all the political strategy and connection and financial backing to actually have a clean sweep in 2027. Choma, literally, the PDP is moribund, literally extinct. The Labour Party is trying to grapple itself. You know, the Nadu Usman, they did a National Executive Council meeting. God knows tomorrow we'll hear that the Julius Abure faction is also doing its own council meeting, or they will say they want to expel Peter Obi, like they have been threatening. They haven't fixed a date. Maybe because of the Nadu Usman's committee now creating an interim board of trustees, you may hear Julius Abure faction come out to say they're expelling. Meanwhile, INEC is taking their sweet time to decide who is the authentic chairman of the Labour Party, despite having the CTC admitted to them. So here is the situation. If you have INEC that is meant to be independent, the body that literally decides the fate of leadership for Nigerians, already being under the armpit of the government of the day, if you have the judiciary too in the same vein, if you have the National Assembly, the House of Reps, all singing the same voice, how does any opposition think they want to have a clean slate in 2027 or be a strong opposition? And that's why the ADC came on board. But there is a problem, Chioma. The problem of the ADC is the fact that if we say we want something different from what we have, we no longer want to have old politicians in our polity anymore. We don't want to have the same recycling of the same persons. And the ADC seems to be an extension of the People's Democratic Party. Then how will this current ADC be convincing enough that they can deliver, they can do better than what the APC is doing?
Maybe ADC has a last card that they've not showed us, because Atiku seems to, the way he's moving, it seems like he has been planning this for a while, because he wouldn't just leave the PDP without having any other plan. Yes, they said
18 months. It's almost like a few months after Tinubu came on board, the PDP Atiku and a couple of other persons started coming together. I remember this is not the first time he told us he was going to run. I think as early as last year, Atiku already made his intention known, just barely 7 or 8 months after Tinubu was sworn in or inaugurated. He made his intention known. We also heard about another coalition and mega political party. If you remember, Patutomi had mentioned it, but we didn't hear anything afterwards, because Kwankwaso said, any measure you're putting in place, if I am not the political, I'm going to be the flag bearer of that measure, I'm not going to be part of it. So talks have been ongoing for having a strong major. This was even before we saw the dilapidation of the PDP or even the situation within the Labour Party. Do you understand what I am trying to say? Now, the question is this, Choma. I intend to speak with one of the political aide to Atiku Abubakar during the evening rush. He needs to tell us precisely why they think Atiku Abubakar will be better, or anybody within this ADC will be better, why Nigerians need to support Atiku Abubakar, what measures Atiku Abubakar intends to put on the table that is different from what the APC is doing right now, what level of trust do they intend to get from, imbibe and curate from Nigerians to trust that they'll be able to deliver? Will they be able to restructure? Are they going to try to see how they can change some certain things in the constitution that will present federal character? What measures does he intend to put on the table that will be different from what this administration has on board? Will they try as much as possible to ensure that nepotism is not the order of the day? Will he make sure that he represents Pan-Africanism, where there is no preference for your tribe, there's no preference for where you come from, and when it comes to insecurity, you will find it out. Choma, Muhammadu Buhari was a former military administrator, a military dictator. If he couldn't fight insecurity, and the president right now, whom obviously is from the southwest, is finding it difficult to resolve the spate of insecurity in the country, how will Atiku Abubakar, who is from that extraction, fight insecurity? That is the big question. So what other peg is on the card that will be different from what this current administration has not already put that will make things get better?
Esther, like you said, you have someone who's going to answer those questions on the evening rush. But one thing about Atiku is Atiku has a support base, but they do not seem to be as loud as the Obedient and the Baptists, which is why it looks like his ambition just overshadows everything. Atiku just wants to run. He's not saying anything. He's not telling us what he would do differently. What's in his manifesto that he wants Nigerians to see? This is the time to actually be telling, not just when you criticize the administration, you talk about what you would do different. But what you see with this opposition now is they'll criticize the administration and go to bed. They don't talk about what they will do different. They don't go around trying to make lives better so that people can be seeing them. You know how to strategically position yourself so that you can tell people, this person is bringing you suffering. I'm going to bring you a better life.
Exactly.
So it's left for Atiku to actually do that. He's the best person to tell us this at this moment. He needs to make sure his communication team start talking now, because whether or not we like to act like it, the truth is campaigns are already underway. politicking is underway. Political permutations, machinations are underway.
Yeah.
The APC, as much as they try to act like they are not jittery about this coalition, from everything that you see online and the way that they try to attack anyone who's speaking against this administration, you know that there seems to be fear in that camp. But of course, you would not expect your opponent to show fear when it comes to the time of battle. So Atiku needs to stop keeping quiet and then just pop out a few months to the polls and say, "Oh, I'm here."
These are basically the questions.
It's not as if he just expects people to expect me for every electoral cycle.
Exactly.
But look at the way Peter Obi goes around. Some people even look at it like, "Oh, this man is trying to deceive the people." When he goes around, he will give money
Make
to
donations
schools,
or
he'll
make
donations,
appearance
he
and then
will
makes a
dig
headline.
boreholes, all those kind of. The other day he was serving food. You know,
It's a church event.
I know it was a church event, but these are the
obviously
things
now that
put
he's
you
in the eye of the
headlines.
now that he's in the eye of the polity, anything he does will be looked at from the prism of
The
politicking.
more reason why he needs to do more. The people who are in Plateau, the people who are in Benue, does Atiku go there to pay condolence visits?
That is the thing.
How does he show the people that he cares about
you
them? How does
care.
he show them that this will not happen under
That
my
is the issue.
administration?
These are the questions. I say again, that is the issue. That is a trust issue. What do you intend to bring to the table that is different from what those people are doing? For example, are you going to continue fuel subsidy? That is the thing, because you campaigned in 2023 and you said you were going to remove fuel subsidy. Okay, that is what Tinubu has actually done. Even if a couple of people think that they would have done it in phases, they would have put something, a cautionary tale or something to bridge the complete removal of fuel subsidy. But now that it feels like up till now, Nigerians have not been able to get away from that total removal. We're still grappling with that. So would you bring back fuel subsidy? If you bring back fuel subsidy, obviously you need to pander to this supposed cabal that the president has said we're benefiting from subsidy and the Nigerians were not benefiting from it. That's one. Two, in other sectors of agriculture, insecurity, now you're hearing that our NNPC refineries, it's not off the table for them to sell it off. He proposed that he wanted to sell it off. He wanted to bid it. Other aspects of our policy, education,
all of these
social
situations is
welfare,
where he's supposed to come
healthcare.
up and
That is
start
the
talking.
thing. Healthcare, infrastructure. I'm not saying infrastructure is bad, but infrastructure, education, healthcare.
Tell us how you do better.
Healthcare, social welfare. How do you intend to promote small-scale businesses? And when I'm saying promoting, not just telling us on paper and that you've released funds, who are the beneficiaries? Can we see videos? Can we see pictures? Can these persons give us testimonies? Choma, the problem with this administration is not that the policy they have on paper is not beautiful, is not adequate to actually sustain and cover up all the vacuum and porosities of the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari. The problem is that it is too elitist. It is only the elite that are seeing the immediate benefit of this policy implementation. People at the grassroots are not seeing it. You tell them to be patient and that it takes time. Agreed. Also, we know that it is 2 years. But what is the immediate measure? What are the state governors doing with the increased FAC allocation? I keep asking these questions. Yesterday or day before yesterday, we heard when El-Rufai told us that 100 billion naira for the past 15 months had been removed, given to the state government for insecurity. So what are the state governors doing with it? Who is asking the governors question? Are they putting out an update on the website that this is how much we got from the FAC? This is basically the sectors that we infused money in. Okay? Then we now know that, okay, the governors are working. Or these are what we use to pay salaries. These are basically what we use for contingency plans. This is what we use for the healthcare. This is what we use for education. In some states, salaries of the teachers have not been paid. So what are the governors doing? And who is holding them accountable? The problem also is the fact that we haven't heard the president call out those governors. I increased your FAC allocation. What are you doing with the money? But rather, you came out on Democracy Day to tell us that they are all doing well. So when you keep on complimenting, they're defecting to the APC. Nobody is giving any check and balance. The Nigerian Senate literally seems to be a yes man. Nobody is saying anything. The president asks for money, it is expediently passed on. Nobody does and asks the president, sir, please, what do you want to do with this? Oh, we just released funds to you the other time. You haven't told us precisely what you use the funds for. Nothing. So when you see the cesspool of corruption happening in every sector, nobody is asking questions. How then do you hold the governors and the ministers accountable? How then do you hold them and tell them and say, these are basically what you're supposed to do? As governors, we voted you into power. Why? Only a few governors are active. Only a few governors are in the news. Only a few governors that you can see that this is basically what they're doing. At the end of the day, Choma, while politics remains the center of the conversation, governance needs to hold sway. Why is governance not taking the center stage?
You know, it's because governance, most of the time, from what we see at the elections, what we see during the polls, governance does not determine who will come back for a second term.
What do you mean by that?
It doesn't, because
is it not your receipt that speaks for you?
Your receipt is supposed to speak for you, Esther. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of people go behind. Did you not see the videos? They were sharing meat at the polling units. That's what a lot of people resort to, right? And a lot of the supporters of both the present and past administrations, and even those who have ambitions to become president later, are banking on what he is going to do for us. You know, we have this individualistic mindset. There are very few patriots left in Nigeria. There are very few people who have that mindset of patriotism, that mindset of I want my country to work. For most people, it's I want to be better. I want my life to be better. I want my family life to be better. That's what it is for a lot of people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a celebration, so we need to go out for the celebration. But trust me, the evening rush will commence precisely 7:15 p.m. Yes, precisely 7:15 p.m. We'll start the evening rush. Do kindly stay with us as we'll be speaking with Olarewaju. Mr. Olarewaju, he is the political aide to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, and all the questions that we asked about him this evening on the World News at 6 about Atiku Abubakar is what we expect him to respond to. Why should it be Atiku? And what does this coalition think they can present? What can they put on the table that they think will be better than what the administration of the day is currently claiming they're doing? My name is Esther Machuku.
And my name is Chioma Innocent. Good evening and thank you for listening.